In this next portion of the exercise, we're going to create an island. There'll be a raised island over here in the 3D window. You should be able to see it when we're finished. It uses a template of a curb, a linear template, and it uses the elevations of this intersection that we've created here. We're going to create a surface out of this, and then we're going to attach that surface to some horizontal elements as profiles, and we're also going to put our linear element on those profiles so that it follows that new surface. First thing we want to do is make sure that we're in the corridors file, which we are currently in a corridors file, and we're going to make sure that we can see our 3D window over there, which we do have open currently. If you do not have that open, you can hit F6 to open that 3D window so you can see that 3D view. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a terrain model from elements. So basically that 3D radius return and the other areas that we have over there in that right window, we can turn those into a surface that we can use and target. To do that, underneath the tasks over on the left hand side, we have the terrain model. So under terrain model, the fifth tool over on the top row of that is the create from elements. We're going to go ahead and create from elements, and then out in the screen we have a dialog box that pops up, and it tells us what kind of feature type we're going to have, edge method, feature definition, and a name. So we're going to leave it at break lines for now. Our edge method, we're going to set that to max triangle length, and our max triangle length, we're going to make this somewhat small so that it kind of stays within the boundary that we create here. So we're going to make the max side length 50. We'll do 50 and enter there. This is going to be a proposed surface. So we're going to go out here under the no feature definition. We're going to go to the terrain display. And I'm going to set this up as design triangles. I want to be able to see the triangles as they're created. And what we're going to do is we're going to name this. We're going to name it intersection. So I just give it the name of intersection, and that will create a terrain model named that. And we can use that in this file and other files that it's referenced to. Alright, so then move out on the screen. It says locate elements to add. So we can add in these two different surfaces that have been created. So all I'm going to do is just left click, let it highlight, and left click on the asphalt surface pavement for that south side of the radius return, and then I'm going to do the north side and left click on that. That's all I really need, because the area that I'm going to be working in is right in this location. So that's all I need. If I needed to go out further, I could pick these out, the shoulders out there, and have it also add those into that. But that's all I really need, so I'm going to move into a blank area and right click to finish that, and then just left click to accept it in blank area for break lines, max triangle length, max side length of 50, and once I do that, it's going to go out and create this surface for me. If I hit F4, you can come out and let your mouse rest on one of the triangle legs out there, and it will tell you it's an intersection that's made up of triangles and in the slopes of the different things that are out there and what level that thing happens to be on. Okay, so we've got our terrain created out there, and next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at it in Project Explorer. Just want to make sure that it shows up over there. So over on the left hand side, you can expand out the Project Explorer, take a look at your Civil Model tab, and then in this file, this corridors DGN, we can expand that out, and we should have it under Terrain Models. We should have that intersection that we've created. Okay, so we're going to use this to attach a profile to for our horizontal elements that make up this island that we're going to create. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go into ProjectWise, and we're going to go into Civil Geometry, because our island is made up of civil geometry to start, and then we do linear templates after that. So we'll go into Civil Geometry and open that file. Now at this point, once that terrain model was created, you could actually export that to another file, its own file if you wanted to. Just to kind of save time, we're going to leave it in the corridors file, but you could put it in its own file. So I'm going to check in that corridors file. Okay, and we're back in the civil geometry file now. And you can see we've still got profile windows and things open from before. What we're going to do now is we're going to just make sure that we can see the 3D window in this file. So we're going to hit F6, hit the F6 key, and then you can see the 2D and the 3D window over here. Now it's really dark over here, so again I like to highlight that window, view 2, make it active, and then go turn up the brightness, which is that third icon over across the top of the tools in window 2 there, view 2, and just slide that all the way up. Okay. Now in this view we do have our asphalt surface pavements and everything, but what we want to do is be able to see that terrain model that we have. So it was created after the fact, after we've already referenced everything in. It was created, so its level is turned off. So we're going to look at the level dialog box now for this right window. Okay, so we expand that up, and we're going to go into the corridors because that's where it's at. And we're going to click on the used option there, so it filters it by the used. You can kind of see some of them are turned on, some of them are turned off. In that right window, really the only thing that I want to be able to see right now is that new terrain model that was created. So if we click on Model Triangle Proposed and Model Terrain Proposed, we'll be able to see that over there. Now I'm just going to turn everything else off. I don't really want to see anything else in that window, so I'm going to actually make the Triangle Proposed my default by clicking on it, and we're just going to turn off everything else in that right window. Okay, so those are the only two things that I have on. So as far as what's in the corridors file, so everything else is either in a different file or it's in the current file. By turning those other things off, this is going to make it really easy for me to come out here and select this terrain model to use as my profile surface. So just go ahead and do that. You can do a right click all off if you want, and then just turn these two on and make one of them default, but that's what I'd like to do for that 3D window. Now in the 2D window, I'm going to go ahead and click on the view number 1 to make it active. Okay, once it's active, then we can go in and start creating our island. So the first thing I want to do to create an island is to set up the feature definition. So up in the upper left, we're going to expand out the feature definition. I'm going to go to Design, Design Standards, Roadway, and then in Roadway there should be one called Island New. So right there, Island New. We're going to pick that, and we're going to make it active by hitting the little light bulb icon just to the left of it. Now anything I draw will be in that island feature. Then I'm going to zoom around, kind of zoom into that intersection of where I'm going to create my island. Now there's probably better ways to create an island, more standard wise, but what we're going to end up doing to create this island is we're going to offset these edges of pavement, and we're going to offset the edge of pavement down here. We can offset the shoulder if we want a little bit of a gap in there. We can do that as well. So what we're going to do is we've got our island set, so we're going to go to the tasks on the left. We're going to go to horizontal geometry, and we're going to do this single offset entire element. So we're going to go ahead and click on that, and it's going to come up with this dialog box, which is going to be probably not filled out -18, but what we want to do is, the very first one is we're going to make it -18. So we're just going to have our offset be -18, so you can type that in, and we're going to actually name all of the pieces of this island. So we're going to do the north side first. So I'm just going to create one called island underscore north underscore 18. And what that tells me is it's the north side of the island, and it's an 18-foot offset from line that we select. So I'm going to move out here on the screen now, and we'll see the edge of pavement for that north side radius return. We'll just left click on it, go down towards where the island is going to be, down towards the inside, and left click to place that 18 foot off. And you can see it's turned into an island feature. We don't want to mirror it, so we'll just accept no, and it'll place it out there. The other side, the south side, we're going to do the same thing. The only difference is we're going to give it a different name. So we're going to keep it the -18, and we're going to change it to island underscore south underscore 18. Once we give it that name, then we're going to left click on the south radius return edge of pavement, move towards the island on the inside, and left click to place it there. The next thing we're going to do is we have this shoulder out here, and we're going to offset it inside 4 feet. So on this one, we're going to go in here and change that offset to 4. Put 4 and enter. And on this one, we're going to give it island EOP 4. So EOP underscore 4. We're going to go out, make sure you have no for mirror on that one. We're going to go out and select that edge of shoulder. We're going to move it 4 feet in. Left click to place that, and left click no mirror. Okay, so now we have the outside edge starting to be defined on our island. And the next thing that we want to do then is we're going to go out and create radiuses for each one of these island noses, and we're going to name them as well. Okay. To do that, we're going to go back to the tasks, and under horizontal geometry, we're going to go to our simple arc tool. We're going to pick on the simple arc, and our simple arc kind of remembers what we've had in there in the past. We're going to change that radius to 4. We'll have a little 4-foot island nose, and we're going to let it trim both. So on our trim and extend, we're going to trim both, ahead and back. We're also going to name this first one Island Nose 4. Okay. Then we're going to move out here on the screen, and we're going to select the south side of this island. And we're going to select on the north side. Then we're just going to move down towards where the middle of the island will be and left click to accept it. And then we're going to tell it to go ahead and trim both. So we're going to accept that. And then we'll create that island nose. Okay, the next one that we're going to do is we're going to pick on the island on the north side. And we're going to trim both again. And we're just going to call this one Island North 4. Okay, so on this one, we're going to change the name to island underscore north underscore 4. And we're going to pick the radius there for the north portion of the island. And then we're going to pick that where we offset the shoulder, we're going to pick that line. And we're going to move to the inside of the island, keep the radius at 4, left click to accept it, and then left click to trim both out. And you can kind of see our island starting to take shape here. The next one we're going to do is going to be the Island South 4. We'll change our name to Island South 4. And the same thing, we're going to pick that offsetted shoulder and that south radius of the island. And we're going to move to the inside of the island. Left click to accept the 4-foot, and then left click to accept trimming both. Okay, so now we've got the outline of our island, and what we want to do is we want to go out and make that one continuous shape with the Complex by Elements tool. So in the horizontal tools, we still have island as our feature definition. We're going to go down and create Complex by Elements, which is in our horizontal geometry tools. Right here, second from the bottom, first tool. complex by element. We're going to pick that tool, and you can do this manual or automatic depending on how you selected the items. If you want to do automatic, that's fine. And we're just going to call this one island. So this is going to be the overall island. Okay, we're going to come out and select. We're going to get right on the nose of that, and you'll see the arrow that points the direction that it's going to go around this island. And that's what we want it to do. So I'm just going to left click on that location. It should fill the whole thing in. Move into a blank area and left click to accept it. Now if you hit F4, you should be able to hover over that, tell you that it is a complex element named island, and that its feature is island new, and right now we don't have an active profile. That's our next step. We're going to go out and create that. Okay, so we've already got our levels pretty well set over here in the default 3D window, so we can select that surface real easy, and we're going to do a quick profile from surface tool to get that thing profiled. So over on the left hand side we'll go to tasks, vertical geometry, and there's one in there called quick profile from surface. It's got the little airplane on it. We're going to select that tool. We can come out here and give it a name if we want to. We're going to call it Island PR, and that'll name that for us. And then we can come out here. It says locate the reference element. This is the element that you want to profile. So we're going to go pick the island itself, the one we just created. And then it says locate reference surface. So I'm going to come over here in the 3D window, and I can pick any one of these triangles. If you let your mouse rest on one of those triangles, it'll tell you that it's terrain model intersection. So we'll left click on it. It says locate reference surface or reset to end. So that basically means we can pick other surfaces to create this off of. But we're going to right click in a blank area out there to create that. Once you right click, all you have to do is hit F4 again. Come over here into the window view number 1, and if you left click on the actual island itself, we can open the profile window for that. I'll get the heads up tool, open the profile window, and then we're going to go to view number 8 and left click inside of view number 8, and you should see that you are in view 8 profile island. So that lets you know which profile that you're looking at. Now it looks like it's all kind of jaggedy and maybe not exactly what you were expecting to see, but if you look through here, you're really at 763.5 to 765. So you're a 1.5 foot difference around the whole entire thing. What's happening is it's expanding the vertical in that profile window. So if you hold the control key down and scroll your mouse, you'll see what's actually happening there. It's fairly flat, really, but we are expanding that vertical out so that you can see it. Okay, what we need to do now is we need to make this profile active. I'm going to kind of slide that window over a little bit so where I can see the view over here on the right. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and left click on the new profile and set it as active profile. So that would be the yellow one, set as active profile. What happens is over in the right window, now in this view we actually can see our island appear out there. So it's given it this profile all the way around. What's kind of neat about that is you could actually reference this into the other drawing and use this as a clipping boundary if you needed to, and clip out any items that are underneath of it if you wanted to do that. But that gets us our island, our good starting point. And now we can go in and actually create our curb along there and have a raised island. Okay, and that's what we're getting ready to do now. We're going to go out into ProjectWise, and we're going to go back into that corridors file. We're going to check in our civil geometry. And what we'll notice right away is that our island doesn't show up. Okay, so we need our island to show up. So in each one of these views, I'm going to go ahead and do view 1. Left click on the border for view 1 to make it active. And I'm going to go up to the level display manager. and we're going to look at that civil geometry where we created our island, and we're going to turn on the roadway safety. Once you turn on roadway safety, then your island should appear over in this window. I'm going to close out level display, and I'm going to do the same thing for the default 3D on the right. Make it active. Go to the level manager, level display. Go to that civil geometry file in 3D, and I'm going to turn on the roadway safety. Okay, so now I can actually see in that 3D window my new island location. Alright, once we have that, we're going to go into the ITL and make sure that we have the correct one. So, because we're going to place a linear template around this for a curve, and we want to be able to grab that curve. So we're going to go into the tasks on the left. We're going to go down into the corridor modeling tools. We're going to go to the create template tool, which is the one with the hammer on it, first row. And we're just going to go out when it opens up and check to see which one we're in. Right now I've got the mo.itl, so I'm going to have to open mine. So we're going to go to the file, open, and we're going to go down to wherever your data folder is for this project. Okay. And we're going to find our J5P0100.itl. I'm going to open that one up. We're going to copy a linear template over. We're going to copy a curve down into our J5P0100 so we can use that. So from inside of here, we're going to go to Components, and we're going to go to the Curb and Gutter folder. See if we can find that in here, Curb and or Gutter. And we're going to look for the Curb and Gutter Type B. This is the one that we're going to grab and bring over. We're going to modify this one. So I'm going to right click on that one and copy. And then we're going to go down to our J5P0100 and left click on that folder, and then we're just going to right click and paste it in there. Okay. Now you can rename this to something else if you wanted, Island Curve if you want. I think I will do that just so I know that I'm grabbing the right one. So I'm going to just call this Island Curve. If you double click on the island curve, it will pull it up over here in the right window, and now you know you've got exactly the right one because the name at the top now matches that. So we're going to make a couple of changes to this island curve, because right now if I were to go place this along the new island, it would put the curb location here, and our curb would be way out to the right all the way around that entire island. So what I want to do is I want to move my origin point to this flow line and have that be where it places it on the island. And then I'm going to have this point right here actually go up and match that intersection surface all the way around. So there's no way that this point could be above or below that surface. So it should always match that intersection surface all the way around. If you don't like the way the curb height is, you can go in and make any changes that you need to this. This is just one way that you can do it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and change the template origin to my flow line. So I'm going to right click on this point for the flow line, and I'm going to change that template origin to there. Okay, that's the first thing we want to do. Okay, at this point we're going to remove the constraints from this curved surface flow line. So we're going to right click on it, and we're going to delete both constraints. That should turn that point green. Now you have two green points. So our curved surface edge over here on the left hand side, we need to add some constraints to that one. So we're going to double click on that green point, and on the left hand side we're going to do a horizontal, and it's going to be based on that flow line. So we're going to go ahead and click on the flow line to add that. And when I do one side, I like to hit apply to that one side, and then go do my constraint 2. For constraint 2, we're going to project it to the surface, and we're going to let it go any direction, whether it's above or below this location. We're going to go ahead and say go any direction, and I want you to hit the intersection surface. So we do that right there, and we go ahead and apply that, and then we can close out of that. So now we have this being the location where it's going to put it along the island line that we have out there, and now this is going to be based off of the flow line point, and it's going to hit the surface anywhere that that surface is at. If you wanted to test that, you could do that. We could put in a surface that comes out here like this, and as you can see, that point, wherever that surface is at, is going to follow that surface point. Okay, so that's how we want it to work, and it looks like it's good. I'm going to go ahead and close out and save the changes. Okay, and then once we do that, we can apply a linear template to that. So that's the next step. So in this view number 1 here, I'm going to go ahead and make it active. And then under the tasks, we're going to go to 3D geometry. That's going to contain our linear template. So that's the second tool in the first row for 3D geometry. It's apply a linear template, so we'll do that. And once we do that, we'll come out here on the screen and it says locate element to apply template. So I'm going to go ahead and select on that island line, and then it says what template do you want to use. It's got island curb in there. I want to double check it, so I'm going to hit the triple dots next to that and make sure that it is in our J5P0100 island curb. Click OK. Always like to double check that. Our design stage for this one, we can almost set this one to the final if you want to, final with meshes, or leave it at design, whatever you feel like you need to do there. When we cut cross sections through here, it's pretty much going to be very tight because the whole entire thing is all made of mostly curves, so it's going to be really tight anyway. So our island curve, we'll just go ahead and accept it. We're going to place that one along there, and we're just going to go from the start to the end. So we'll hit the Alt key to lock to the start and accept it, and hit the Alt key to lock to the end and accept it. And then we're going to move to the inside of the island, so it's going to put the gutter on the outside and the curb on the inside. That's what we want. So we'll left click inside there. Our exterior corner sweep angle is the default is 5, so we'll left click to accept that, and just no description at this point, so we'll left click, and it should put your curb out there all the way around the intersection, as you see in that 3D window now. Okay, so that gets our curb in there. The last thing that we'll do to finish off our island there is we're going to put in something across the top. We're going to kind of fill in that top area up there. Okay, so to do that, we basically do it the same kind of way. We're going to go in and create a surface along the top that uses that back of curb. So that's actually a pretty easy task to do. We're going to make view number 2 active. Left click and make it active. And under our tasks here, we're going to go to terrain model. And the same tool we used before, we're going to create from elements. Okay, in this one, you can still do break line if you wanted to, but I find that boundary works really well for this one. So we're going to do boundary on this one. Our max triangle length, we really want this one to be tight. We don't want it to go outside of that back of curb at all. So we're going to make that 10 max triangle length. We're going to change our feature definition to design grass area. So there should be a design grassy area. We'll pick that. And you can name it island grassy area if you want. Then it's going to ask us what we want to add in, what we want to select. And all you got to do is move in to the top and back of that curb, and you can left click on that. When you're done with that, zoom back out to where you can see a blank area and just right click out there on the screen. Okay. Then it's going to step you through the prompts that we've already got filled out in our dialog. So I'll accept the boundary, accept max triangle length, accept 10 foot, and then it goes out and it draws that grassy area across the top. If you take a look at that in 3D view, you can see that setting that max triangle length at 10 really takes care of any overlaps or anything like that, and it creates that grassy area for us on top of the island. Okay, then any changes that you make now to that curb, if you wanted to change the height, you could go in and change the template to automatically jump up in height. The grassy area will also follow it and go right up with it. Okay, that is how you create the island, and you can take a look at cross sections if you wanted to. One way that you can look at cross sections, if I go back to the default window here, view number 1, and left click to make that active. Over under the tasks, under corridor modeling, we've got the first tool in there, open cross section view. Okay, so if we click on that tool, you can say where do you want to go through, and we're going to just go down this match line that we have right through the center. We're going to locate that as our alignment. So we're just going to left click on it, and it wants to know how far left and right do you want to see. So for this, I'm just going to left click a location left, and I'm going to left click over here on the right side a location, and then it says where do you want to start. So I can start down here just before the island somewhere and left click. And our interval, how often do you want to go through here? Let's say we want to go every 5 foot. So we'll type 5 and hit enter, and then we'll accept that 5, and then it says select an open view. So what we're going to do is we're going to do view number 8 again like we always do, and we're going to left click inside that window. Once you left click inside that window, I'm going to go ahead and maximize it so you can kind of see what's going on here, and go ahead and take a look at this. So as we step down through this, just little arrows across the top, you'll start to see that some of that island coming in here. Okay, there's the island popping in right up close to the nose. As we go through that, you'll see that island appear all the way through. There's some other things you could do later on. You could use this outside location, the flow line, and you could clip out all of the pavement underneath of that if you wanted to do that. But you can see the top grassy area right there has been created and shows up in the cross-section window as well. So the cross-sections actually look pretty nice running through there. And so that's how you create an island then based on an intersection.